Greetings. I've taken up speech writing. This is something long in the works in my life. I've always enjoyed writing. I've always enjoyed, the act of argumentation, arguing against something or for something, persuasion. And so I thought, well, there's a lot of issues of the day that are bothering me that I want to share my perspective on, that I want to build an argument around. So in lieu of me not having the political power to be influential, to have my own voice heard, why not try to write for others? So I have written something, and I have sent it off to a few different politicians and political parties, and none of them have picked it up yet or contacted me, and I don't expect any of them to. But I thought I'd share it with you guys. So you might have heard about the recent breaking and entering case. Oh no, it's not a breaking and entering case, it's an assault case that happened in Lindsey, Ontario, where somebody broke into a homeowner's house, and they didn't, there seems to be no punishment for the person that broke in, and in fact there seems to be greater punishment for the person that defended their house and their family. So in lieu of that, I thought I'd write a speech called On the Sacredness of the Law. And I'll let it speak for itself. And it was quite emotional for me to write. So here it is. I'll just be reading off here. Sadly, and greater by the day, it has become a necessity to talk about crime in this country. Across the nation, from coast to coast, in our great cities, and even creeping into our vibrant towns, there has emerged a sense of lawlessness, an increasing feeling of hopelessness towards our government, that they can and will not address the problems head-on, turning on the news each day, scrolling through a Twitter feed, or perhaps reading an old-fashioned newspaper. We are constantly confronted with violence. If you aren't lucky enough to live in a gated community or don't have the luxury of taxpayer-funded security, then perhaps you have experienced such a direct altercation. An altercation that had nothing to do with you, but was made your problem, your family's problem, your children's problem, due to governmental irresponsibility and, frankly, a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. It is no coincidence we see so many repeat offenders in our system. We have become soft on crime. Now, I don't say soft in any cliched sense, because there is great intention behind the term. The laws of a nation are not a recommendation, but fine print of a sacred contract between government and its people. For this to work in the long term, both government and its citizens must prove that they are willing to stay true to such a contract or risk its termination. Now, when a citizen chooses not to abide by the civil code, the government has a duty to respond forcefully and diligently with its sovereign power to protect the people from anarchy. If the government proves itself to be unable or unwilling to provide such fundamental protection, trust and loyalty among the people fades. In this way, an attitude of softness or of favoritism towards empathy and rehabilitation of the perpetrator violates a fundamental promise that our society was founded on, that being order. Without such order, our very Canadian heritage is fractured. Now, I do realize the possibility for excessive punishment, and am in no way calling for brutality in any form, but common sense will tell us that if we don't meet criminals with a strong confidence of force and punishment, the ensuing brutality that they cause unlawfully will far outweigh what the government could possibly do legally. We need reforms that reflect such a confidence. I believe it was the Prime Minister who said in Kiev yesterday that the lesson of Minsk was that we need not trust and verify, but to deter and fortify, in reference to Russia's ongoing invasion. Well, I argue that here at home the lesson that we should learn is much the same. Deterrence comes from strength. It does not come from light sentencing. It does not come from gun control. It certainly doesn't come from punishing self-defense. What we need are reforms that reflect such a commitment to deterrence. But beyond our legal tradition of order, guarded by the sovereign power of the law, Canadians have always relied on each other, our fellow citizens, for collective security. Throughout the years and centuries, this solidarity has ranged from militias created to defend against threats to the immediate south, to the countless neighborhood watch committees that work so hard to ensure our communal safety. We must remember that these institutions, these bonds, these networks of citizen engagement are partnered with the law in any well-ordered society. Emphasis on ordered. Insert political party, let's just say conservative. A conservative plan not only recognizes the legal changes that need to be made within our criminal justice system, but the need to maintain community solidarity between real people that have an interest in keeping our streets safe. It is through this duo of Canadian tradition, a tradition that has granted order, peace, and ultimately freedom for its people more effectively than any other, that will restore public safety, and with it, trust in government, and our most important civic institutions, such as the police and court systems. It is a tradition that sadly the Liberal government has ignored for a decade, and one that my government promises to restore. Thank you. Have a good night. Have applause. And they're all cheering. Everyone's cheering. So that is my speech titled On the Sacredness of the Law. Yeah, I think that we do need reforms that do bring about some degree of fearfulness in people that otherwise do not fit into civil society and have no intention to fit into such a ordered society. And, you know, I see myself as a rebel and as someone who's critical of the law sometimes. But that criticism mustn't come through violence. And so when someone does act violently, I believe that we need the means to defend ourselves. So anyway, I think changes need to be had, so that is the speech that I hope somebody will pick up. So thank you.